Blizzard fans, welcome back to another episode of the Cold Front Podcast, going into week 19 of the 2026 IFL season. Joey Bonadonna, BJ Steffen here. Another week of IFL football has come and gone. Green Bay, with their 13th win of the season, ties a franchise record for most wins in a regular season. They'll have an opportunity to get their 14th, which would tie a franchise record, period, for wins in a season. Coming up in 2 weeks. We'll talk about that next week. But let's recap the action of Week 18. BJ, you had boots on the ground in Des Moines. Takeaways from the Blizzard and their huge win over Iowa to clinch the number 1 seed.
It was a good game. We were never really in doubt. I think the first drive was our only drive that felt rough. It kind of felt like, okay, maybe Iowa's defense can kind of get some stops. DeMylan Brown had 2 touchdowns to start off the game, and from there, we were up by so much, it didn't really matter. So defense played great, had a lot of great stops. We had no major penalties. That was my complaint last week, is we had a lot of holding calls and just mistakes. We didn't have any mistakes this week. It was clean. I don't think we had any turnovers. We had one drive that resulted in a field goal instead of a touchdown, but that's about it. Mevis went off. He had 17 points. Watch out for Special Teams Player of the Week for back-to-back weeks. So... But yeah, it was just a good game. We played our best. Yeah,
and I think also you're going down to the last 3 weeks of the season. Obviously, Green Bay has a bye this week.
Yep.
Coming into this game against Iowa, the guys were able to get some rest in the second half. Kyrie Robinson didn't play. He was just getting rest, according to the broadcast. And
arguably, he did more work. He was running up and down the field with water. I'm like, holy cow, they got him working more than he would playing.
And that says a lot, because he obviously is he does some work out in the field as well. But week 18, guys start to get some rest. Week 19 bye. Week 20, not much to play for against Jacksonville. We'll see if they do want to play a full 60 minutes and play that one. Obviously, Corey said at halftime, the halftime interview, we're there to play football. Yep. There was one scare. It was Andrew Carter was taken off after a touchdown. Yep. He was interviewed on the sideline after that. Take a listen to Andrew.
I'm here with Andrew Carter. Andrew, you were just a part of that touchdown play, but then you kind of had to be helped off the field. What happened?
So I got hit in the sternum, and I have a wisdom tooth out, so I have a gauze pad in my mouth. And it was just a whole bunch of things led up to me throwing up, and I had a ski mask on. So I didn't want it all over my face, so I just ripped my helmet off, took the ski mask off, and then I had to come off because my helmet came off. So,
how would you describe yourself after that moment? Gritty, or?
Yeah, I would say gritty. Football's kind of a gritty sport in the trenches already, so I would have naturally just thrown up and then snapped the ball. But like I said, I had a ski mask on, and I didn't want it all over my face, so I had to rip it off.
So yeah, Andrew Carter, football guy. Period.
Yeah. I didn't get to see the interview until afterwards, obviously. So I talked to him after the game. And I'm like, what happened? He goes, yeah, I got punched in the gut. I threw up. I had my wisdom teeth pulled. I'm just like, it was 2 days ago. Why are you playing? I was on my butt for a week after I got my wisdom teeth pulled. I can't imagine playing a full 60 minutes. Cheapers. Good on him, though. Holy cow.
Well, yeah. So Andrew Carter, if he is physically able to get out in the field and go play football, he's going to go play football. Yeah. He had one of the interviews of the season. We've had a lot of interviews of the season. That one, I'd say it's top 3. I'd say it's arguably top 3. But Andrew in the offensive line obviously put together a great performance. I don't think anyone didn't put together a bad performance. The defense coming up with 3 fumble recoveries?
It was either 2 or 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So they had a fair amount of forced turnovers, creating new possessions. Special teams, Fred Flavors had a kickoff return for a touchdown.
He had one of the forced fumbles, too.
He also had one of the forced fumbles. Originally thought that he had the second. Marcus Hillman wanted that one back. He got that forced fumble. Usually he's on the receiving end of jumping on top of him. He was the one that jarred one loose.
Yeah.
Just everything you could ask for, all-around performance, and for a game against a team with 1 win on the season, that's the one you want to get. A few other games to talk about. Orlando, San Antonio, back and forth. I don't know how much of it you saw.
I caught the end
obviously.
of it,
It was overlapping with the start of the Green Bay game. But back and forth. San Antonio, boy, I think if you're looking at them and they're a result away from missing the playoffs, you're going to look at their last two games that they lost and be like, what happened? Lost to Vegas, lost to Orlando in your own building. They had their chances, and Tucson hasn't made it easy on themselves either, but San Antonio squandered some chances to get back into the postseason. Orlando looked how strong they were a week ago. They kind of, again, going on the road, playing down to their competition a little bit. They're still a incredibly talented team. They have experienced coaching staff. They have the talent that can run with anyone in this league. Those are the kind of games that you look at, though, and you're like, okay, what kind of Orlando Pirates team are you going to get?
Yep.
You don't know. So that's another one to keep an eye on. Tulsa drops Jacksonville to their fourth straight loss. That's a 4-game losing streak for Jacksonville since they came into the Rest Center on an 8-game win streak. Now they no longer control their destiny to host a home playoff game, which is, I mean, again, crazy. They were the number 1 seed. People were talking about them as they were the best team in the league, and then a lot has changed since. They made a change at quarterback. If you haven't been tuned in, that's kind of been a big controversy right now. What is the right move for Jacksonville? They play Iowa this week. We'll talk about the games for Week 19, of course, after. Vegas, San Diego, that was the other big one. Arizona took down Tucson, but it was a strong second half from them. But the big one from Sunday night was Vegas was up 13-0, and after that, all San Diego.
Yeah.
Jaden Delore was great, had 5 touchdowns in his return, but that was all they scored. It was San Diego that was able to just do a little bit more, and their defense came to play and was able to limit a high-flying Vegas offense. Literally what I said. I didn't think anyone could slow down the Vegas offense, regardless of who was at quarterback. Jaden Delore had a good game.
Yeah.
Didn't matter.
Did not matter. Yeah, San Diego just play better defense, and I think that narrative has kind of changed. We've seen West teams don't have a really good defense. They're high-scoring offenses. Maybe puts it in doubt a little bit. Maybe these teams can have some good defense, get some stops. They limited Vegas, and we'll see how they do going forward, because they didn't have that defense last week versus Arizona, but versus Vegas, they had no issues. So,
well, that is the recap on Week 18. You're wearing a shirt today.
yeah.
Well, we don't have to go full into the story, but it's interesting that you're wearing the shirt, because for our icebreaker this week, we're going to welcome in Trey from Off the Wall to talk a little bit about what's going on around the IFL. All right, we're here with Trey from Off the Wall. You just teased it coming in. You got your Woody Page style, blizz ball behind you. We'll talk a little bit about that here as we going forward. Welcome back to the show, by the way. We had you when we were live out at the IFL Cup in New Jersey. Now, as we've come through, now about it's been a month and a half probably since then. We're going on 2 months now. A lot has changed. The playoff race has shaped up. And on top of that, award season is coming around the corner. Let's jump into that first. MVP, we've kind of been teasing it throughout the week. Seems like there are 3 core contenders, and it's the quarterbacks for the top 3 teams in the league. You got Liam Thompson in Green Bay. You have Jaden Delore in Vegas. Nate Davis in San Diego. It kind of reminds me of the start of the movie Cars. It's like the legend, the runner-up, and the rookie. I don't know who all falls into those categories just yet. I think everyone kind of falls into them in their own piece. But what's so intriguing about this MVP race, where everyone kind of feels like they might have a little bit of a case that I think at one point they were all like they are the best quarterback in the league this year.
Yeah, it's such an interesting race that we have, and I think there's one more we need to throw in there that I'll throw in at the end here. But Liam Thompson, it feels like, I know this is a Blizzard-focused show, but it feels like he's the runaway front runner at this point. Just what he's been able to do, not just running the ball, he's a dynamic runner, but he has made some extremely impressive throws, and he's had some massive MVP moments where you look for those moments like that's the guy. A couple weeks back in Orlando, that 4th and goal play, that was an MVP moment. That was like a signature, throw it on the highlight reel right now. That's the one that's going to play. It feels like he's the runaway. Jaden Delore has had a little bit of health issues, but when he is healthy, he is as good as they come. Nate Davis, same exact thing, where he's been able to get a little mobile this year and flex the speed a little bit. So shout out to Nate. But I feel like there's one more you got to throw in there from the East. I feel like you got to throw TJ Edwards in the mix with what he's been able to do in Tulsa over the past 2 months with their white hot winning streak. He's been throwing the ball exceptionally well.
Yeah, I mean, he's pulled the team up into being, controlling their destiny for home playoff games. They have 2 games down the stretch against Quad City. The one that was kind of an interesting talking point was his top receiver, Germanic Smith, is Triple Crown candidate. So it's like, is he in that conversation too? It's that conversation is the core, but the offense definitely it flows through TJ Edwards. It is Germanic Smith is kind of one of his vehicles to get to that. TJ Davis, also a friend in Green Bay, is a part of that new revamped, and they keep stacking up going into the postseason. So that's another fun name to throw in there. Obviously, Paxton DeLaurent has been strong in being I think he's a leader in all-purpose yards in the IFL. So that's another name. It's going to be so intriguing down the stretch to see these. And again, quarterback is kind of the name of the game in the MVP position, in the MVP award.
Right.
These quarterbacks are going to be they're going to have some fun down the stretch. I seem to surmise. So that's kind of a little bit of a breakdown of what's going on in the MVP race. Let's talk about what's going on in the East in terms of the playoff race. The West kind of seems like it's locked up for the most part. Not all 4 seeds have been locked up. There may be some movement of who's going to play where and when and what that will all look like. But the East seems wide open behind Green Bay clinching the 1 seed against Iowa. 2 through 6, it's anyone's game right now. What are some of the last 2 weeks? Say the least, obviously, Fisher's Orlando is the big one, but there's some interesting matchups that could come into play here. Quad City with things to play for against Tulsa. Jacksonville they got to find a way to stop the losing streak at some point, you would think, with being one of the best teams in the middle of the year. What happens with this playoff race in the East?
Yeah, the skid from Jacksonville is just extremely interesting to me, what they've done over the past month or so since they made the change at QB, and the defense has just fallen off a cliff. It felt like week 20, final game of the IFL season, it was going to be Green Bay versus Jacksonville. Winner gets the 1 seed, and I had that circled. I was like, this is going to be cinema. And then Green Bay kept doing the Green Bay thing. Jacksonville's figuring things out. So that game last week, Tulsa versus Jacksonville, I think that was a massive game in determining how this is going to shake out in the Eastern Conference the rest of the way. Tulsa just continuing to be white hot. And the way the dominoes fell for the last game of the season for Orlando Fishers to basically be a win and you're in, lose and go home situation, barring some doomsday chaotic scenarios where every team finishes 9-7. But for that to be the case with those 2 teams, the script writers are going crazy with this one.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of looking at it the same way about the middle of the year. I see Green Bay Jacksonville was right after that game between Blizzard and the Sharks. Like, hey, these 2 teams could see each other again. Quad City was still in the race. They've now since been eliminated, but it's like, okay, what happens if Tulsa does lose? Do you think that game to Iowa, where Iowa had them on the ropes?
Right.
If they lose that game, these 2 games now matter down the stretch between Tulsa and Quad City. They're still in the race. What cinema we could have had, but we still have in front of us to close out the year. It will have some incredible matchups over the week. I won't ask you to, we're 6 weeks away from naming a champion, but I won't ask you to do that at this point in the year. But what makes these playoffs so intriguing in terms of how everything, the storylines all start to piece themselves together?
Yeah, the one of the things I absolutely love about the IFL is that once the playoff starts, there's 4 teams from the West, 4 teams from the East. You can make a legitimate case for 6 of the teams to win, maybe another one. There's chances of Vegas, Jaden DeLaura, when he's hot, it's hard to stop that offense.
They were Nate Davis last year.
Yeah, and they made it all the way. Nate Davis and Ed Vander, what a lethal combo that they are in that backfield. Arizona is getting white hot at the right time. Green Bay has just been an absolute wrecking ball. When the Orlando offense is humming, they're hard to beat. Tulsa's white hot. The defense is opportunistic. Jacksonville has the pieces. They just got to right the ship and figure things out. So you're looking at every team that can plausibly make the playoffs. You can make a case for it, and I think that is so exciting.
It's all going to come down to 3 weeks in August. That is the main key that we will have our eye on. Trey, appreciate your insight as we continue to mark down towards the end of the regular season. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Follow Off the Wall on all social platforms. Join the conversation. That's what we're here for. And,
right.
Continue to keep talking some indoor ball.
Live, laugh, love, Blizzball.
Funny how that works, right? Just
we'll say it's planned.
It was we're not. We won't say it will.
Okay.
It was planned.
It was planned. Yeah.
It was planned. That's the fashion for today. So, huge respect to Trey and what he does to talk about our game. Again, across the indoor football landscape. A great dude to have in the industry. That's for sure.
100%.
But enjoy getting to talk with him. Let's jump ahead into our Talking Blizz this week. Rolling forward into, again, a bye week for Green Bay. What has in store for this Blizzard squad? All right, we're here with Blizzard offensive coordinator Matt Behrendt. Matt, this has kind of been a fun reunion for you here in Green Bay, getting to not only come back to the Blizzard, but you start a family. I know you just had number two in your family over the off season. What's it been like, being able to establish a life here in Green Bay?
Yeah, it's sweet. It's been real sweet, Joey. Obviously, all thanks to the Green Bay Blizzard, of course. It's awesome. But yeah, no, it's just awesome just to settle down, just to how things happen, how things ended up. It's crazy. Just really blessed and just grateful for everything, how it turned out. Just to meet the person, the wife, and then to create a family and just literally come out of it just because of coaching football and being with the Blizzard and just being here in town and being around. It is something special. I definitely don't take that for granted.
Well, walk through a little bit of your story. You played football at UW Whitewater. You're originally from the Chicago area, but you've had some experience of winning some championships in the state of Wisconsin. Walk me through your journey through your playing career that led you to Green Bay.
Yeah. I always tell people going to Whitewater is probably one of the best decisions I've ever had in my life. Just the program, just everything that was there, even though it's D3, right? People look down at D3. It's an amazing program. It's an amazing school, staff, everything about it. It was just awesome. Like I said, I got one of the best decisions of my life. So yeah, we had a lot of success there. Definitely had a lot of success. Really good coaches, I still take, a lot of what I do as a coach comes from what I learned from these guys and those guys and just what my experiences throughout my time there. And it was a lot of fun. Obviously, winning makes everything more fun, everything better. So we won a lot of games. So it was good. It was a great experience just to go through that. Just have that experience, and also have the opportunities, beyond college football, and that that comes a lot from winning games and being in a program like that where you have a lot of success and you have a lot of guys that have made it to the league. So it was a lot of opportunities came out of that, and like I said, man, just a lot of fun, great experience. Learned a lot from there. Just being a part of the football program there, that I took in life today, and that's the great thing about football, man. Just learning those life lessons and still using them today is pretty cool.
And now transitioning into the Blizzard, obviously your playing career, you hold still a lot of the passing records for the Blizzard, but now you've become the offensive coordinator. Now the last 2 years, you've been able to build the best offense in the IFL the last 2 years. Walk me through that process of being able to establish that, and Green Bay is one of the best offenses in the league.
Yeah, these last 2 years has definitely been a lot of fun. We've done a really good job just getting the right guys, the right pieces. We got some really good football players, right? So obviously I say that all the time. They love to make me look really good at what I do. So it's a lot of fun just working with guys like that, man, who listen, who are very coachable, who want to be coached up, who want to do different things. So it makes my job a lot of fun, man, just having that freedom to kind of just play with things, mix things up a little bit. It's a lot of fun, and it continues to grow, right? Obviously, I kind of have a system. I think I did a good job when I was younger, learning from my mistakes. We went through a lot of hard times my first couple of years with the Blizzard. We didn't have the best, offensive number-wise and whatnot, so I definitely learned a lot from my mistakes and all that. And I think I also did a good job of just not, being stubborn, and the fact that, hey, I'm using stuff from this guy, just trying to take little pieces and little everything from, different coaches, really good coaches, especially throughout this league. And then, like I said, man, I've been fortunate to have really good coaches throughout my career, and then kind of just putting my little twist on things and, stuff like that. So it's been fun developing the offense, getting it to where I kind of want it to be, and then obviously just seeing the success with these guys coming in and just doing their thing, and again, just like taking the coaching, trusting in me. I do take really good pride of the players trusting in me, because it's not something that's easy to do, right? You really get a new group of guys every year, and for them to trust in me and believe in the offense, believe in the system, I do take a lot of pride in that. So that's awesome. And like I said, we just got a really good group, and we've been continuing to get good groups, and so it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
You mentioned a lot of those new faces this year, and it kind of is the nature of the league. A lot of new faces will come and go, and last year you had an MVP. You had to replace him at quarterback, and now you have a guy like Liam Thompson, who is starting to create his own MVP case. What's it been like being able to work with him since all the way back in March, now going into this playoff push?
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it started a little before that, because like you said, it was a big piece missing that big piece from last year, that MVP. That's not an easy spot to fill, and kudos to him. He's a very good football player. So obviously, once that happened, it made my job a lot harder coming into this season. Just starting over. So, but like I said, man, Liam is. I mean, since we signed him in the fall, man, just that's really when it started, right? Just getting to the earlier the better, right? Just to get him more comfortable, more, adapt to the language, the system, and all that. So, I mean, we were meeting a lot, talking a lot, just talking ball, just talking the language, just talking about what to do here and this and that. And so, I mean, he's a hell of a player, man. Just a hell of a guy, on and off the field. Just how he approaches the game, man, and just how he does his job, man, his poise and everything. It just, he wants to be great, right? He puts the effort in, he puts the work in, a lot of behind the scenes, because like I said, man, there's obviously you see what he does on the field, but for him to get to that point and how he got to that point, it started well before March, man. Just him studying and doing what he needed to do to understand the offense, to understand the language, and quarterback is just a different position, man. Just the stuff, the knowledge you have to know about it, just how the attention to detail, just all the little things that go into it. I mean, even the basic things, aren't basic, right? Just snap, cadence, all that, just how important all that stuff is, and how he took it by the reins, man. It's just, you love to see it, man. You love to see it, man. Just from my perspective, you just love to see these guys having success. They deserve it, man. They put the work in, and it's a lot of fun, man. He's a lot of fun, and there's just he's a good football player, man. He's a good football player, and the crazy thing is he's just continuing to get better, man. It's his first year, man. It's his first year, new system, right? New guys around him. He just continues to get better. So it's definitely scary what his ceiling is.
Well, Matt, appreciate you telling your story and a little bit about your group this year. Best of luck going into the postseason. Obviously, #1 seed locked up. The East runs through the rest. So appreciate your time and rest up here over the bye. We'll be ready for Jacksonville before we know it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun little next month. That's for sure. Appreciate it, Joe.
All right, that'll bring things into our forecast for the week. 5 games this week. They're going to be played. I don't know how many of them had major playoff implications.
Yeah.
There are implications on the line, to say the least. Obviously, the East totally up for grabs. If there's a major upset, there's going to be some interesting dynamics on the line. But I would say, I would argue that all 5 of these games are going to be double-digit spreads.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have Iowa at Jacksonville. We have Quad City Tulsa. We have New Mexico San Diego, Arizona San Antonio, Naz Tucson. There's not a single playoff team versus playoff team matchup, at least as it stands. San Antonio, maybe. San Antonio's not eliminated.
Yeah.
Quad City's eliminated. Iowa's eliminated. New Mexico's eliminated. Naz eliminated.
Yep.
It is Arizona, San Antonio. That is the only one that has real, like, someone could get eliminated in this game.
Well, technically, the Tucson game eliminates San Antonio if Tucson wins.
Right,
but
that one's after. So I think that's the Sunday night game. So, yeah. But, yeah, it is 5 games that will be played this week. We will talk about them. And Iowa-Jacksonville, this is the first one. Jacksonville looking to end their skid. They've got back-to-back home games to end the season. For them to have any chance to host home playoff football, at least in the first round, they need to win this one for sure. What say you? Iowa with an old friend in Aaron Aiken at quarterback. Is there any chance?
I'm going to go Jacksonville. That's not a hot take. I think it's a very cold take. Iowa they don't have it.
At least you hope it's not a cold take, right?
Yeah, maybe it is. I don't know. But they play in Jacksonville, so you limit that, right? Iowa played against Tulsa a couple weeks ago. It was kind of close, but it was in Iowa, and they still lost. Iowa's hit 7 quarterbacks this year.
Yeah.
They're not winning against Jacksonville. I would love to see an upset. I think that'd be awesome. I think it'd be a fun game to watch, but I think Jacksonville runs away with this pretty quick.
I'll also go Jacksonville. Sharks, they got to find their footing at some point, right? And for them, they'd rather find it now as opposed to having to be going into the playoffs on a losing streak. Obviously, they still play Green Bay next week. We'll talk more about that then. There's a football team that I know that went on in the playoffs on a 5-game losing streak. Last game of the season, there not really much to play for either team. I won't name names or anything, but it did not go well for that team in the playoffs and trying to win a playoff game. Going on forward, Quad City, Tulsa. This one, Quad City is eliminated, but it still feels like they have some culture to play for.
Yes.
I think that's truly what it is. You can point at what the issues were this year for the Steamwheelers, but ultimately I think that this is a team that's filled with veterans. There haven't really been any major changes to the roster since day one. These guys have their cultures to play for. And what is established in Quad City, a team that was the 1 seed a year ago, a team that went out and made super splash moves this offseason to try and make a run back. What do you have for these last 2 games against Tulsa? This is the tough one, though. They have to go to the BOK.
Yeah, I'm going Tulsa. Again, like you said, Quad Cities doesn't have anything to play for other than pride, which is a factor. But I think Tulsa, they want to keep the win streak going. They're at 7 right now, 7-game win streak. Hoping to make it 9 going into playoffs. Hopefully, you still have to earn yourself a home playoff game. I think they control their own destiny, right? They win both.
Do. If they win both or Jacksonville loses a game, they have the advantage.
Yep. So Tulsa's playing for a home playoff game. They didn't get one last year. They were tied with people who did. So this year they want it. So, I'm going to Tulsa. I wouldn't be surprised if next week it's maybe a different story, playing in Quad or playing in Iowa or Illinois. One of the two, right?
It's close enough.
Yeah. It is right there. But we'll see what they play this week. It's hard to play in Illinois, playing teams back-to-back. Tulsa has to, drive up. Yeah. So we'll see. I think the narrative could change next week, but for this week, I'm going Tulsa.
New Mexico, San Diego. 3, 2, 1. San Diego.
Yeah.
New Mexico has not had any pulse since the last time they played this team. It felt like when they did win a game in between that. It was against Northern Arizona a couple weeks ago.
And then they got blown out by Northern Arizona yesterday.
Northern Arizona hung 70 on them this week.
Yeah, and San Diego has something to play for. They win this, they get the 1 seed, they lock that up going into week 20. Lock up a home playoff game. They have not locked a home playoff game yet, despite Vegas below them having a home playoff game.
Yep.
So they need this win. I don't think they're going to have to try too hard to get the win, but they still have to win.
That is New Mexico, San Diego. Move on to Sunday, Arizona at San Antonio. San Antonio still has something to play for. They're playing at home. They've played some tough teams tight. Can they play Arizona tight enough to keep their playoff hopes alive, whether it's just for a couple more hours? Obviously, the other game after that, we'll discuss further.
I'm going to go Arizona. I thought last week Orlando was going to blow out San Antonio. I really did. It was close. San Antonio had opportunities to win that game. I wouldn't be surprised if San Antonio has a similar game this week where they just play really well and have a couple opportunities to win. I think it'll fall in Arizona's favor, but San Antonio still has a breath of hope left, so they're going to play like they like they should.
Northern Arizona, Tucson. Tucson with the chance. Well, they may already have their ticket punched by the time this game goes final. Do they do it on their own accord?
Yeah, they'll win here. Naz did just beat them a couple weeks ago.
They hung 70 on New Mexico's like we just talked about.
You never know, but I think Tucson gets it done at home.
All right, same deal. I'll go with Tucson. I think, the home team, well, outside of Arizona, having to go to San Antonio, I think they're going to be some double-digit favorites, and I think all double-digit favorites are going to pull off the win this week. That is our forecast. Let's jump into our blueprint. There is no blueprint for a Blizzard win, obviously, because there is no Blizzard game to be played. But let's look ahead to the potential scenarios that come out ahead. Numbers, they'll more come into form next week. But there's 4 potential opponents for Green Bay in the first round. A lot would have to happen for a couple of them. But let's talk about the main ones. Look ahead to week 20. Orlando Fishers, as it stands right now, more than likely that game will decide the number 4 seed. Orlando Fishers. What do you see from those two teams? Green Bay swept the season series against both, 3-0 against Fishers, 2-0 against Orlando. It is hard to beat a team 3 or 4 times. They pose some unique challenges, each of them. Orlando wants to throw the rock. Fishers wants to run the rock. Both are starting to prove that they can do the other two and become a two-dimensional offense as opposed to just having the one that they want to use. So those are also some tough teams. Fishers, I think they played tighter with Quad City than they would have liked to for a long period, but they pulled away. Turnovers doomed Quad City. Green Bay's been able to take care of the football. That has kind of been the alternative. Both of these teams, though, not Orlando, but Fishers has forced some turnovers against Green Bay and trying to pull out some wins against them.
This last one, though.
Yeah, those two teams, that one, that one not so much. But these two teams, they have not really had much to stop the Green Bay offense. But could there be enough that their offense kicks into gear? They just win an extra possession. They get the second half kickoff. They can control the pace. They can control the clock. Those are two teams to keep an eye out for sure. That they pose some challenges for Green Bay as they start to make playoff form. Keep an eye out for that. The other two, of course, Tulsa, it would really take a weird scenario to happen. They'd have to be swept by Quad City. Orlando has to beat Fishers. And Jacksonville has to, I think, win out. So they would have to win the last 2 games of the season in order for them to somehow be the 4 seed. The thing that scares you coming in is the fact that they would be on a 9-game win streak. You probably wouldn't play them in the first round. You can't play them if they're coming into the playoffs on a win streak. At least in the first round, you could see them in the conference championship, but you need to win the first game first. They've reloaded. They have T.J. Edwards, a former MVP. They have Jermaine Smith, who is, in my opinion, I'd have him as the Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, he's leading Triple Crown, right?
Yeah, he's a Triple Crown for a winning team. He should have Offensive Player of the Year locked up. There are a few other candidates. I think Josh Tomas out in the West with Vegas has been strong, but he's also been out with injury. So that's one to keep an eye on. But then on top of it, they welcome in an old friend, TJ Davis.
Yeah, he's been doing pretty well too.
They have talent at Tulsa. I think it's very similar to a team that came into this building a year ago. Of course, Green Bay was able to force 5-6 turnovers. That was so unprecedented for that Tulsa offense that year. But that's a Tulsa team that is coming in with a lot of firepower into this postseason. Likely not going to see them until a potential conference championship. But what do you see in Tulsa?
Tulsa's been great. Like you said, they're on a 7-game win streak right now. Potentially 9, even 10 if we play them in the conference championship. They've played great football. But their last loss was to us. It was in their own building. We gave them every opportunity to win. We still got the stop. So I kind of mentioned this to a couple other people. I mentioned it to Matt on Saturday. But we have to play our absolute worst football for teams to come close to us.
I think it's not an unfair assessment. I think it really truly is. And I feel like it has been for the last couple of years. Green Bay's worst enemy is themselves.
Yeah.
I think you look at the Vegas game, you look at the national championship a year ago. They had bad penalties. They couldn't get off the field on 3rd and 4th down. They didn't get that last push at the goal line.
Yep.
That's on them. That last one, you could argue that it was the other team that stopped them. But I think if you give that little extra effort, you win that game. Conference championship against Massachusetts now, the Pirates, they have always been the Pirates, but the Pirates 2 years ago, turnovers. You didn't control the clock. You turned the ball over at bad times, especially right before the end of the first half. That's on you. Those are those moments that when Green Bay loses, it's because they are the ones that aren't taking care of the football. They're not playing clean football. They're not putting forth that last final effort to lock down a win. I think that's a fair assessment. And I think that Tulsa game, that's the one they've played this year, it's tough to analyze another team when you've only played them one time. For the most part, these teams have all played each other 2 or 3 times. It's harder to assess, for sure. Last one, Jacksonville. They're on a losing streak. They're in bad form. But we've seen what their potential is. What is their potential with Sammy Edwards at quarterback?
They've kept it close. Every game they've played that they've lost, it's been close. It's been.
I'll also say, sorry to cut you off, their schedule's got incredibly hard.
Oh, 100%.
Down the stretch.
Yes. Yeah, they played us. They played San Diego. They had to play Orlando in Orlando.
Tulsa on the road.
Yep, Tulsa on the road. So they've had a tough schedule. They're leading, I believe they're leading our conference for strength of schedule.
No, officials.
No, I guess, officials, yeah. But
they're above Orlando. They're above Tulsa. They're above Green Bay.
Yeah. So I mean, they've played close games. They're tough, close games. I think if you didn't make the switch at quarterback, I think you see 1 or 2 of those games get flipped into wins. Just my...
We digress.
Yeah, that's my thought process. But you never know. You get some momentum off of Iowa. If Green Bay doesn't play a full 60 minutes because they don't really have to, get a win there. You have a little more momentum, potentially a home playoff game too. You never know. If you just get hot at the right times, you see it. So I don't think a lot of people had us going to the championship last year, just how we were playing. So
I don't think there's any team that's made the championship that you could say like, yes.
Yeah.
It felt like this was the team that was going to do it.
Right. Vegas almost got eliminated last year before playoffs.
They were a 4 seed.
Yeah, they were a 4 seed.
They went into Tucson. Here's the other thing we didn't really we were going to talk about last week is the fight for the 50.
Yep.
That's the new the new docu-series that came out from last year's playoff push. We'll be curious. Episode 2 comes out tonight as we're recording this. Episode 2 will be out on overnight as you probably see this episode. So if you haven't seen it yet, go check that out. You saw all last year. Vegas needed to win that last game to get in. They were heavy favorites and they won
first,
dominantly, but they made it in the 4 seed. They had to go beat Bay Area. Yep. They had to. Green Bay was a 2 seed. They lost the last game of the regular season in Jacksonville. They had to go on the road to go play Quad City. It is definitely the last 3 weeks that is the grind. And obviously for Green Bay, they've put forth some great efforts, especially with the way the last 2 postseasons have ended. It feels like this is championship or bust. The way the way that expectations have changed. This feels like it has to be the year to do it. 3rd time's the charm. Feels like that is the case.
I'm going to say this. It's going to bite me in the butt. I'm going to knock on wood now. We've always won one more game the last 3 years, right? We made playoffs. We won the playoff game. We lost the conference championship. Won the conference championship. Lost national championship.
Don't want to go backwards.
We're on pace we got to go win it now. So
you don't want to go backwards.
Yeah, 3 years ago, if you asked me, we're in the national championship. We lost, but we're on pace to go make it again this year.
You asked me last year. I was actually saying this, this year too. I remember after the conference championship, it felt like you were on top of the world. And then you got to that national championship game. It's like, and I've been to the national championship the last 2 years before that when it was still in Vegas. It was like, it was a spectacle. It was cool to go to. And I was like, no. All of a sudden you walk in that arena and you're like, oh no, this is a Green Bay game. This is a chance to go be on top. And now it's like, okay, that's the taste you want.
Yep. I want that feeling.
You've got one playoff win. You got a conference championship win. get to the pinnacle.
Yep.
That is the key. That's the goal.
Yep.
And all be all. Well, that'll do things for our episode this week here in Week 19. After this week, the games matter that much more. Obviously, we'll have a chance to talk about Jacksonville. What does that mean for Green Bay? We will know more about the results after this week. Looking forward to talking more. That'll do it for our episode this week. That is BJ Steffen. I'm Joey Bonadonna. Thank you for tuning in to Week 19 of the Cold Front Podcast. Almost forgot the name. Well, it's been a day.
It's been one of those
Let's
days.
wrap it up. We'll wrap it up as we always do.
Go Blizz.